Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. I think our OP expected a different scenario when he decided to sell his old car, but it turned out a little crazy. We'll tell you more in our first story after the pause. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Crazy jerk wants to buy a car I'm not selling and then wants me to pay him. I was selling a truck with a seized engine for scrap. I had no way to tow, and at the time it would have cost me nearly what the truck was worth to pay for a tow. I was selling it for $400. Scrapped, it's worth $550. If you can tow it, you can make $150. Not bad for everyone involved, and I just wanted it gone. Someone buys it but cannot tow it that day, but stops by and pays me for the title, and I agree to wait 3 days for him to pick it up. Fast forward an hour later, and someone calls me even though the ad had been down for a couple hours now. I tell him, sorry, it's too late, someone bought it already. I did have another truck for sale, but for $2,000. I mentioned that just in case he was interested. This is where I effed up. He says, well, I'm right nearby you. I'll stop and take a look at it. He shows up and tells me it's only worth $300, but he'll give me $350. I'm like, dude, this is a perfectly good running 2010 vehicle with less than 100,000 miles. You're nuts. He argues some more, and I remind him this is not the blown-up 1999 Ford Explorer I was selling for scrap, but a different vehicle. Finally, he gives up, and as we're exiting my backyard, he notices the junker. Wait, I thought you said you sold that already. Yes, I did. The guy's picking it up later. But I got cash right now. So did he. He has the title already. It's his. So, but I can drive it off right now. I'll give you $200. Man, it's no longer mine. It's sold. It's gone. It doesn't exist. Sorry, man. Now he loses his crap completely and starts kicking the tire and threatening to punch my lights out for wasting his time. I reply, GTFO my driveway before I call the police. Bye. He gets in his vehicle and peels out, leaving tire marks all down the road. Just as I go to my front door, I hear the squealing tires getting closer. I turn around and he flies into my driveway and slams on the brakes, nearly skidding into my garage door because of the gravel. I tell my wife to call the cops and lock the door, and I remain outside to wrangle this idiot off my property. He hops out of his car with a giant effing wrench, demanding that I pay him $200 for wasting his time. I kind of did the being chased by a polar bear around the Jeep dance for a few minutes, telling him how he's insane and the cops are on their way. If he just leaves, I won't jam him up. Nope. He stays until they arrive and ends up getting hit with a disorderly persons and DUI. Insane. And our second story. Get the F out of my house. Little background. My father owns a telecommunications repair company, and before that he worked in the industry for years. And since I hated daycare, I spent every summer helping him and learning to weld, rig cell phone tower antennas, crap like that. By the time I was 19 and dropped out of college, I decided to get my certifications and asked my dad for a job. Well, he got a huge contract and hired 5 brand new guys with myself and another veteran that's been working with him for years as crew leads to run all the repair projects. I end up with this massive D-bag who got fired from multiple different physical therapy clinics and is now 40 and unhireable by any other industry, but he has a massive superiority complex because he has a bachelor's, and that somehow makes him better than tradesmen. On to the story. Me is me, CL is the other crew lead, DB is douchebag. We're on the first site, on the first day of the job for a major client, taking down old antennas and putting up new ones. CL and I drive up to the site after morning meetings at the hotel with my dad and the client over Skype, and we brought lunch for everyone. CL realizes that he forgot his hard hat at the hotel and tells me he'll be back in half an hour. No big deal. It's a simple job that I've done before with my dad. I drop the sandwiches in the refrigerated server room and go over to DB, who's using a trailer hitch winch to haul a brand new antenna up the tower to our other guys who are 700 feet up at the top waiting to install it. He's got the antenna about 150 feet up at this point. Me. Hey DB, I think you got your fasteners on backwards. The fasteners have to be perfect because the higher the antenna gets, the more wind, the more tension on the winch. Yeah, they're fine. No, they're definitely backwards. They're effing fine. Go the F away, bootlicker. Guess that was his derogatory term for me being the boss's kid.
No, they're backwards. By the time it gets up there, the winch is going to slip and that antenna is going to drop. Bring it back down and fix it. I don't have to do crap for someone who's half my age and couldn't make it through a year of college. Only reason you're here is you're daddy's kid and can't make it in the real world. Right as he finishes the sentence, I hear the winch crack, so I grab DB and run both of us into the server shelter, smashing all the sandwiches in the process, while the winch flies out of the hitch mount and the antenna drops like a rock onto the truck, carving straight through the cab and into the ground underneath. F. So you can't rig right, and you don't have the common sense to put a pin in to secure the winch to the truck? There's no way that was my fault. Not only is it your fault, but now I get to explain to both OSHA and our insurance company how we managed to damage over $70,000 in equipment and $30,000 of our clients' equipment on the first day of this job. I spent the rest of the day calling OSHA, my dad, our insurance, and my mother, our accountant, to make sure that all the right reports get filed and our butts are covered on all bases. I'm assuring the other crew guys their paychecks aren't going to be affected and that I'll get them more sandwiches. After the end of the day reports are finished, my dad calls me up and tells me to fire DB for negligence, so I go up to him. Hey, you're being let go. Sorry, but this incident isn't something we can afford to happen again. And it was obviously, you can't fire me. My other crew leader says, pretty sure he can fire you, and if you don't believe him, I'll fire you. And if you don't believe either of us, we can go see the boss tomorrow. F it, let's go talk to the boss right now. It's like 4 o'clock. So we drive 3 hours, interrupt my family's dinner, then sit there smugly on the couch in my dad's home office while he literally screams at this guy about costing him $100,000 and maybe a lost contract, and basically tells the guy he's filing a civil suit for negligence since I specifically came and told him he was doing something incorrectly. What the F does he know? He's just a kid. I taught him how to rig a winch when he was 8, and he did it right. You're a 40-year-old man who managed to crush an entire truck. Get the F out of my house.
And our next story. Yelled at by customer at work. This happened to me in March of this year, just as the lockdown started and many stores had started having special shopping hours for elderly and high-risk customers. I worked at a grocery store on the overnight stock crew, and my shift ended at the same time the special hour started. I would frequently pick up items I needed at the end of my shift before heading home. On this particular morning, we had finally gotten a shipment of toilet paper and cleaning wipes in. I picked up a 12-pack of the cheapest toilet paper in the store and a canister of Clorox wipes for my mom, who's high risk. I was not wearing my black work polo because I was 7 months pregnant and it didn't fit, so I was allowed to wear a plain black t-shirt instead. I picked up a few food items and headed for the register. I ended up in the line behind an older woman. She said very pointedly to the cashier, who's a friend of mine, that we needed to be more strict on the elderly and high-risk guidelines. She looked straight at me as she said it. She said we needed to have a guard at the doors to make sure no one was coming in during the special hours except those that actually needed to shop at those times. At our store, it was from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. every day. She also said that if the store lets other people in to shop, they should make sure that they don't buy the essentials that other people need, looking at the toilet paper and Clorox wipes in my hands. Now, my coworker is an elderly woman, and she's not shy. She's a spitfire, and she'll tell you what she thinks and doesn't give two craps about what you think. She looks straight at the woman and says, "There's a limit on essential items. You can't buy 2 packs of toilet paper." The customer had 2 of the biggest packs of toilet paper we sold. We're talking 18 rolls. The woman snapped at her with a, "Fine, whatever, but I'm not coming in here if you're going to keep letting other people in during the special hours. I want to speak to a manager." Bet you didn't see that coming, haha. My coworker calls the manager on duty, which happens to be my manager on the overnight crew. He comes up and this woman goes off, yelling about how we're letting regular people shop during these special hours, how the cashier was rude and was limiting her, etc. Full Karen. My manager looks at me and can see that I'm irritated. He looks at the customer and straight up said, "I would like for you to leave." She got angry and asked why she should be the one to leave when she was clearly following the rules on the shopping hours and I was not. He said, and I'll never forget this for the rest of my life, "This customer you're harassing is my best employee. She just finished working a 9-hour shift to fill these shelves so that you could come in to buy your essentials. She's picking up a few items after her shift." And on top of that, you're harassing a pregnant woman who's considered high risk, and she has as much of a right to shop during these hours as you do. She's exhausted and she's scared because of the pandemic, but she comes in every night, works extra hours, and busts her butt so people like you can come in and talk down to her. You can leave now, and you're welcome to stay out. And he walked away. She tried to stammer an apology at me and ask about my baby, when I was due, what I was having, etc., when the loss prevention guy showed up to escort her out. I ignored her and picked up one of her packs of toilet paper instead of the 12-pack I'd grabbed. I checked out my items and was on my way while LP took her picture and made notes that she was banned from the store for 30 days for harassing an employee. And our last story. I stole a piece of my neighbor's yard. There are bushes between our and neighbor's yard, both on my side and his side of the property line. Recently, he came to me and said he wanted me to remove the bushes and he owns that part. The reason is, on the map, the line was drawn with a marker, so 3 millimeters is equal to like 2 meters of ground. We actually never had an issue as there were bushes and it was fine, so I told him that the 2 meters are equally split between us and I don't want to do anything. He insisted and said he'll get an order. I told him for this we'll need a measurement so we can just order the measurements and act accordingly. He refused, but since I didn't want to have to argue, I ordered it anyway. Cost about €1,000. The measurements came back and concluded that the entire 2 meters are on my side. I told the neighbors this and said we could either keep everything as it is now, or I can get an order from the council to claim my property. Of course, he said he wants to keep it as it is, which I'm fine with, but now I spent €1,000, so I asked him to pay half. But he refused, saying I ordered the measurements, but only because he was making an issue. So I responded by taking the measurements to the council and requesting an order. In my opinion, I offered many compromises, but he accepted none. My family thinks it's vengeful and I should just have kept the measures in case we needed them in the future and sit on the costs. Edit. To clarify, the order I was referring to from the council is a decree saying who can do what and where. So basically saying that I own the property according to measurements, provided no one has countermeasures within X weeks, and that everyone else should go away. It's not an order to pay. For this, I would have to go to the magistrate. The neighbor went out of their way to make it a problem. Now they're mad things didn't go their way. It's bushes. Get over it. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.